Behind every performance you admire is a story you've never heard. If you've ever doubted yourself or thought of yourself as an underdog, this episode will show you are more than capable of achieving your dreams. On average, 70% of podcast listeners don't subscribe to the podcast they listen to, so if you've ever been inspired, learned something, or been left with positivity from the show, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button so we can keep connecting, having real conversations, and growing together. Welcome back to Kicking It Real. You guys, we got a fun guest today. I have Alyssa Brutlag with me. If you don't know her, you should. She's a choreographer, a teacher, Pilates instructor, new fiance, one of my really good friends. So Alyssa, welcome. Oh my God. Alyssa sounds so weird. Alyssa Brutlag, welcome to Kicking It Real.
Thanks for having me. So excited.
Yay.
Yay.
I'm so excited. I know you were on my list of when I conceptualized this. I'm like, okay, I need her on because you are really cool, and I'll hype you up throughout the episode as we keep going. But just to get us warmed up, what have you been kicking it with lately?
Ooh, should I do dance or fun?
I feel like dance is fun. It can be either. It doesn't have to be about dance.
I'm kicking it with balance in my life. Balance.
Okay. It's like an ongoing struggle forever, I fear.
Yeah.
Like me as well.
Yeah. And I'm a Libra, and the sign of a Libra is scales. And I really am trying to lean into that this year. And
Is that like water, fire? What is that? Do you know? I don't know exactly. Yeah, I don't know exactly what air is, but it feels right for you.
it's like things are light, things are airy, but we go off vibes here.
Airy light vibes. I love that. No, balance is good. I feel like maybe it's a
kicking it with
theme for
totally kicking it with balance is like work hard, play hard, spend money, save money, and also time with friends as much as I'm working. That's my big goal this year. So things like that.
It's so hard. It's so hard. If you figure it out, let me know. Great. What are you kicking to the curb?
I'm kicking out the tortured artist trope. I'm done with that.
I love that.
I think that you can live a great life as an artist. I think we can be inspired by what's going on in the world and live a fulfilling life and be all the things and not have to sacrifice so much, like historically is the way of being an artist. So, yeah.
I feel like everything we have planned to talk about, you actually embody that so well, more than you probably even give yourself credit for, because that's also so real. But also when you say that, it's bringing me back to Western days. Not that you were tortured, but the energy was like, that sounds so rude. Do you know what I'm saying though?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. I think that, I had pieces where I was playful and I played with comedy a lot, but also I played with really heavy stuff as well. And I think I experience all the things in life. So I want to create art on all the things and not just being tortured. And there is a lot of value in things that are lighthearted as well and an escape sort of art. So I tap into it all. And I'm not one tortured artist. I'm one full human being. And
I love your evolution story.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, your evolution story is so good, but we're going to start kind of at the beginning-ish. I say this with every guest. I'm like, I don't want to go too far into the path, but then it's so good. Can you talk to us a little bit about your pre-college days? Your mom owns a studio, which is so cool and produces crazy talented dancers. Did you branch out a lot? Were you mostly at the studio? What kinds of styles did you take? Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. So I grew up, my mom was my first dance teacher, which is awesome. And she still owns a studio and we still talk dance all the time. And she's a huge inspiration to me. So I grew up seeing everything behind the scenes at the studio and watching her make incredibly hard decisions and not only behind the scenes, but also how she taught and how she created amazing dancers and some of my best friends and amazing people and pumped out like year after year, really talented dancers. So I really still look to her as one of my biggest mentors for teaching and business. And she's gone through it, and it's a hard, hard life to own a studio. And I respect her so much for it. And that's kind of what was growing up with a studio owner mom. But yeah, we were a competitive studio, and I trained in all styles: ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop, contemporary, and we did the convention circuits. So, those long weekends where you're taking class and doing competitions. We did not really focus at that time on just competitions. We were very much education focused, and that was really a core value of the studio, was that if we're going to take 100 kids away for the weekend, we're not just going to show, we're also going to learn. And through that, I was able to really see what was out there for someone who grew up dancing in Toledo, Ohio. It's kind of a bubble in a small world, and the dance hubs are really far away. So it was also a good way for me to see other talented dancers, meet talented choreographers who are really working on world tours or musicals, or they really hire a really crazy gamut of amazing
Yeah,
people.
that's so cool because I feel like it doesn't sound like you did, but so many kids, I feel like in the moment don't understand the privilege it is when they're going to these, especially a lot of competition dance focus where it feels like a lot of the focus is starting to shift on my prize and my award, where it's like, wait, but that's just for funsies. Because my studio was similar to where we did competitions to perform. We
Mhm.
listened to the feedback and stuff, but we were like, okay, we want to grow and learn and do all of those things. And
Yeah.
it's how cool that your mom was with it enough to do that. I always say that. I feel like a lot of people, when you say you're a dancer, and they're like, oh, when you're on studio one day, and I'm like, no, never. That's so hard. Like, it's not just cute, let's, point your toes and do a little recital. It's just so much more than that, which what a gift to be able to be behind the scenes. I'm sure there
Yeah,
were definitely pros and cons to it, but overall, I mean,
absolutely.
to look at where you are now
Yeah, my mom was an
is so
amazing
nice.
mentor. It still is, and not only to me, but to all of her students. And it takes a special person to be able to hold that many relationships so special and to care for that many people. So she's amazing, and it's always going to be home to me.
I
The
mean,
Another thing
yeah,
I wanna say about growing up in a studio is that as a studio, we were very strong, very well, but me as an individual, I got no awards ever. I was, like, very much underdog and didn't really find my peak. I don't know if I have found my peak, but I did not
maybe.
as a dancer, like, from the outside perspective, I was not, like, top dog ever. Like, because I was studio owner's daughter meant nothing. I was not handed anything, and I just loved dancing, and I was there every day. It was my favorite place to be, my favorite group of people, and I just fell in love with the work of it and the team aspect of it, but I was not the dancer at all, at all. So,
But like
that's
hot take that not I would say hot take you that's probably why you are the way you are though, and that your mom or anyone didn't give you handouts.
Thank
I
you.
think
Yeah,
that's
I think it's a big through line in my journey as to how I became a choreographer, but I just wanna be very clear to if any young dancers are listening, I was not it. Like, I was just riding the ride.
I feel that. We're gonna get into that because I feel that for sure. We're gonna full circle that, but that's no, it's real and I think that's so common in so many successful artist dancers nowadays. Like 10 out of not 10, 10 out of 10 times, 9 times out of 10, it is the person that was the underdog because you learned it's a lot of work, even
Yeah.
when you are really good. But just moving on a little bit, did you know then, do you think because you saw your mom in that role, did you know early you kind of wanted to focus more on the choreography side of things? Or when did that shift happen from performer to maybe I want to be on the other side?
Right. I think I wasn't sure I even wanted to dance at all. I didn't consider it until the second half of my junior year of high school. I was gonna be a graphic designer. I was not feeling that I was, like I said, top of anything. How was I gonna be a professional if I just didn't see that path going until, like, I saw some of my older, like, classmates graduate and go on to college and saw what that did for them and saw that as an option. that I was like, "Oh, there's like a whole world, this concert dance thing, college dance that I like didn't really know about." Because conventions at that time, I think it's different now, but conventions were very commercial track. It was so fun. I learned a lot from that, but I wasn't seeing that road for me at that time. And I was learning about this college career really late. Like I didn't start auditioning until the last round of auditions for all these
I didn't know
places.
that. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
because I was, like, seeing what my older friends, my now alumni at that time, were going on to do, and they were choreographing, and then I would see the knowledge that they would bring to the studio when they came home on, like, winter break, and I was so interested in that, and I remember watching one of my very close friends choreograph my senior year and just, like, observing him create and watching him it just changed, like, I could see college's influence on his creation and his, process, and I was like, "Oh, I think I could do that. There's a whole 'nother world I wanna tap into," and I loved to dance, and I wasn't ready to give it up, and so I just took a chance on myself and said, "Let's try it, and if I get into a program, like, we'll see what happens." So it was very late.
Yeah. It's so funny you feel like that's late. If you guys didn't pick up on this already, we both went to Western, go Broncos, but I feel like I'm hallucinating that maybe there I don't know why I would know that, but maybe it's because you're one of the really amazingly talented people that went there. So I was like, okay, wait, she auditioned at the end. I don't know. I could be completely making this up
Yeah.
now that you're
Thank
saying it. But it is funny for those of you who didn't have the privilege of knowing Alyssa in her college years, I feel like you were intimidating in the best way, but it's funny knowing you now that we're older and, like, knowing more about it. Never in a way where I was like, "Oh, she's rude," but I always saw you as a choreographer maybe before you saw yourself. Did you have a dance in freshman year Orcsis?
I made I don't think it made it that year, but I did make one to audition it. I was making right
Like,
away.
at the
And a lot of freshmen aren't choreographing for orchestras, but I was like,
No.
"This is my track. This is what I wanna be known for, so why wouldn't I start right away?" And the dance was so bad.
That
I tried, at least.
Okay, I try but that's the thing that people need to, like, remember is that maybe the dance was bad, but I don't remember the dance, but I remember you submitting a dance and being like, "That's literally insane. How does she have the confidence to do that?" Because I would have never, which is
Yeah.
so cool that you were able to go in with that mentality. Do you think it's because you had the underdog feeling of performing, so you were just like, "I'm just diving headfirst into
So,
that?"
yeah, I think I left out a key moment that I'm now recalling. In high school, I was on a dance team, a very small it was a dance team, but we weren't doing like UDA track, we were doing the state competitions. We were fine, but we needed a hip hop dance, and there was an opportunity for the captains to choreograph it. And I was like, "I could do that." And I think I was a junior captain at that point, like, I was my junior year. That was the first dance I ever choreographed along with the other captains, and I fell in love with it. I loved the process of it. It was a hip hop dance. Like, it wa I don't do
I'm
that now.
obsessed with that. Yeah,
My
I'm
ever
obsessed.
choreographed was for my dance team, and it did go on to win the state title that year, which
No
I
big deal.
no big deal. I have watched it back since. It is not that great, but it was a big deal back then. And that got things going in my head that I was like, "Oh, this is, like, so fun to do." Then I started seeing my other friends choreograph in a more of a concert way, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I could totally do that. I've made a dance before," and I started getting hired to do other hip hop dances in the Toledo area because no one else choreographed hip hop and I had like kind of done it once. So I was
Okay,
choreographing. I was doing it. I wasn't sure it could be or I wanted it to be my career until I saw what could be done with it from other friends. So that's why I think going into freshman year that I was like, well, this is one thing I've done that I want to show that I can do right away is I can create a hip hop dance, which
I can promise that it was not a hip hop dance that you submitted for freshman year, but I hope that you get a bunch of,
there
inquiries
was
after
always
this.
like trying to be an artsy hip hop dance. I tried to make it different. It was very out of the box and something I would never do now. But I was just trying so hard to make a good impression from day one that I was someone that wanted to just try things. And even if it didn't go far, at least I did and no regrets. So
I mean,
I think
from my
that's what
perception, you did that.
thank you. Thank you. And that's so funny you were intimidated by that because I, in my head, was so heartbroken and devastated and embarrassed that I even tried. But in hindsight,
Ugh,
it's funny. I'm so glad I tried. And whatever that trait is that I have has driven a lot of my career. So that's funny that you noticed that right away.
no, I noticed. It worked. And I'm a big believer in you have to put it out into the world and into the universe for it to give you back what you want. And that's literally the perfect example of it. You're like, I know I want to at least give this a solid try. So literally, what's the point? What's the point of waiting? There's none. There's none. You just took the leap, which is so we briefly talked about just the ebbs and flows of college specifically and of
Mhm.
your belief in yourself. I surely let the perception, what I thought that others were perceiving me for affected my energy. Did you feel that at all?
That feeling of being an underdog. Yes. I think I defined myself as an underdog, to be honest. And for a long time, and things really started to change when I let go of that. But the early years in college, I was feeling like I wasn't really a good choreographer. Yes, I was trying it, but I didn't know what I was doing. I knew I really liked doing it. It wasn't good enough stuff, obviously, because I just started to like be going anywhere or doing well. So then I felt like I had a full hill to climb there. And like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't really interested or really great at performing. It never was my first love with dance. And a lot of the early years in college are taking technique and like you're kind of evaluated on that because you're building your artistry. So I was just coasting in my technique classes, doing good work, but not stunning anyone. And same with my choreo. I was doing the work, but it had a long ways to go. And so I constantly felt like it was like, no, not yet. No, not yet. Not ready yet. You need to do more, not here yet. So yeah, I had a lot of years of that. And then that kind of infiltrated my mind a little too much, to be honest. It kind of tortured me. And um, I'm really glad and really, really glad that I broke through that. But it took a lot of work and I still feel that slip in sometimes. So that's a
It's hard to
lifelong
get rid
journey
of.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to diminish your feelings at all, but just also for reference for people. I'm sorry. I feel like I blocked a lot of college out of my memory because in your piece, one of them went on and performed at different places. You actually had success and still felt that way. So just reminder, even the people you're looking up to the most have
Totally.
their things and are human.
Things
And
are happening and then you're spinning it in your mind as to how you don't deserve it or how it's not real. So yeah, it takes a long time to figure it out. And this is my 10th year choreographing from that first hip hop dance I made, my 10th year. And I really have felt it shift in a very positive way only in the last maybe 3 years. And maybe that's longer than it should take, but that's what it took for me. And, yeah, and now I
yeah,
really feel good about myself and what I do and what I create, and thank God.
which we're going to dive into all of that because you've done so much. But just for sequentially, because I'm crazy and this is how my brain
Mhm.
works. After college, we're done with college. It was good. It was a good learning learning blocks. Great. What were your initial plans? I know you and I know you're a planner out of college. Like what did you want to do? What did you end up doing
Yeah.
before COVID?
So like you mentioned, I had started performing around the country in my senior year of college and soon out that whole summer after I graduated. So I had some choreography things kind of rolling, it felt like. I wasn't sure what was going to come next, but I knew I wanted to continue to choreograph. I was really feeling good about the stuff I was making and how inspired I felt and it was being well received, so I wanted to continue that, and I felt like I needed to move to some kind of hub to do that. Some place that had resources, some place that had artists I was inspired by, some place where I could get funding, some place where I also had talented dancers. And in all my research, I did also a couple intensives to kind of hop around cities and kind of get the vibe of the city. I had landed on Seattle at that point, and I did a summer intensive out there, fell in love with the city itself. I thought it would be really great to live there as well. And through that intensive, I had met another choreographer. I had worked with her
Photographer.
throughout the summer, and she was choreographing on one of our groups. And after that intensive, I had an email from her that invited me to be an understudy for her company. If she was like, if you're ever in Seattle or if you ever are out here, if you move out here, like, I would love to have you like as an understudy. So that was like another reason for me to be like, okay, I have something. It's a performance gig. I never really thought I wanted to perform.
Also, it's a good example of like times you do the job you're maybe not as excited about and you don't know what other doors it's going to open for you.
Totally.
Within reason, of course.
Yeah. And I did a lot of that in my early 20s and just saying yes and we'll figure it out. This is kind of another reason why Seattle is kind of pulling me there. So I went there and started dancing with her company 2 or 3 days a week, maybe, was taking class. And then I also got another side job at Pure Bar, shout out, and was there for 8 months before COVID hit.
COVID really changed people's trajectory in a dramatic way. People who are on this podcast who have done cool things, it's so interesting. Granted, I don't think you would have stayed in Seattle forever, but it
Mhm.
probably pulled you back home a little bit sooner
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
than maybe you would have.
Yes, I was in Seattle. I was, first year out of college is really hard. And then add on being across the country. I was doing my best out there. And the 8 months had hit. It was kind of becoming time to renew my lease. And COVID hit. But I, with my grit and my I'm going to prove personality trait, decided I was going to give it another year. In my head, I was like, I can make this happen. I know it. I know I can do better. And then I think like shutdown just kept getting extended and extended. And I was just like, I already have nothing out of college. I need to go home and I need to.
Already have nothing, has like toured the country doing her solo, but like that's fine.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm yeah. Financially, it was really hard. The first year out of college is so tough. And at that point, there was some work still happening in Toledo with my mom's studio, and I had absolutely nothing open in Seattle. So I decided to just come home for the summer, which turned into a year, which turned into 3 years. Definitely sooner than I was planning on moving back to Ohio, but it was maybe the best thing that ever happened to me. It was a great period of my life, and I learned a lot.
What did it look like for you when you were there? What
I started teaching dance pretty much full time. I was at my mom's studio, so working for her, really honing my teaching craft. I was also choreographing on these dancers that I was teaching. So I learned that was a really exciting and like fruitful like relationship when I get to teach the dancers I create on that I don't do that often. And I made some of my favorite dances there ever, still to this day. And I fell in love with teaching all ages. And I was able to learn underneath my mom, like how to be a great teacher, how she teaches, take what I want, kind of create my own things. And it was just, that was my whole life for 3 years. I still was
I love
traveling
it.
in the summers doing choreography. That was a whole separate part of my life. But day to day during the week, I was home in Toledo, like doing that. So that was really a great 3 years.
I love that. And I think that people also sometimes forget that being a good dancer or even being a good choreographer does not always translate to being a good teacher and how
Mm,
much of a skill it is. It also just takes it to another level of mastery if you can teach
yeah,
it to someone else successfully. I know now you've
yeah,
transitioned into Pilates instead of Pure Barre, but just in general, teaching fitness. For me, I don't teach dance regularly, but before I moved to New York, I
mhm,
was teaching dance. But I noticed such a huge shift in how I was able to articulate what I wanted people to do with my words through teaching fitness. Did you feel similarly?
totally. And it was vice versa. I was able to teach a great fitness class because I knew how to run a room and wrangle 6-year-olds, like
You can wrangle
it was,
6-year-olds, you can wrangle adults.
yeah, I'm going to get the adults to work. It was
Facts.
just it felt super natural to me. I felt really confident teaching, microphone, no microphone, and it's still to this day is my favorite way to make money, teaching. It's I'm passionate about it. I have so much fun doing it, and I think I'm good at it, and fitness or dance, either way, it is so rewarding. So rewarding. So, best
That makes
job.
me happy.
Thanks.
That makes me happy because I am not good at teaching a large group of 6-year-olds. That is something I learned about myself fast. I was like, "You need a second certification to teach kids under 5. You should have to.
It's
You should have
humbling.
to."
Totally.
It is. Yeah, the OCD in me. Talking about Pilates briefly,
Mhm.
talk to us about how Pilates, just taking it from student standpoint, has impacted your dancing physically. I know you're not performing, but just choreography wise, you're obviously still doing things just to give maybe inspire some people to get into some more fitness
Yeah.
Pilates things.
Well, I started taking Pilates in high school, just mat Pilates as a way of cross training as a dancer. I loved how strong it made me feel, and I loved thinking that deeply about my alignment. I was obsessed with understanding true, strong posture and alignment. And that carried into college where I was doing reformer. It was my favorite way to warm up. I would just go to class 15 minutes early, do some footwork on that, get sliding around, and then feel really good after. There's a lot of workouts where I would take the class or group class or something and be limping out of class and like need a day off. In Pilates, I always felt
Surely.
better. Yeah, I always felt better after Pilates and like ready for my day. So still to this day, it's my favorite way to cross train. And it also has not only made me like a stronger dancer, way also the Pilates training has made me an incredibly stronger teacher. I don't know if I said that with grammar, but like my
It's
Pilates
fine.
knowledge my Pilates knowledge transfers so well to my dance training, my dance teaching, and I'm able to really help my students understand their alignment a lot earlier than I did. And I'm seeing amazing results in my classes by teaching like these principles. So I think it's like the
No,
it's marriage of Pilates and dance. It goes so well together.
I think the mind body connection is so underrated. It is so crucial to good dancing. Do you think that Pilates is going to be a long term kind of gig for you, or do you see it more as a part time, hustly type of
I'm
job?
not sure. I think I definitely chose Pilates because it could be long term if I needed it, but I try not to think that far ahead. So I'll have it if I need it, and I like
Let me
doing
take
it.
notes from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to take notes because I'm always, oh, well, like one day when I have kids, maybe I'd want to teach at Pure Barre and
Yeah.
do that as a mom, as I'm like not even thinking about having a child right now. And I thought that when I started when I was 20 years old. So I digress. Moving past Pilates a little bit back into dance, we took a little detour, but when did you start to feel confident as a choreographer? And obviously post grad now,
Mhm.
was there like a moment or a piece where you had that it clicked, or was it kind of a gradual, like, okay, I know you said it was 3 years ago ish, but
Yeah, I think it's such a wave, it's such a journey because I'll feel a spark of confidence through validation or just pride, and then the next day I'll be like working on a new project that I absolutely hate. To say I'm fully confident is not the truth, and I think it's better that way, to be honest. I think it pushes me to push myself and to push my artistry, but I kind of started to let go of that underdog feeling probably in college when I started getting some finally some recognition, not through I don't want to say like an award, but I was getting some outside validation outside of the bubble of college. And
a bubble.
it was such a bubble in college. It really helped for me to know that I had some traction in the real world that I was about to enter. And then again, you get into the world and you're the baby of everyone around you because you're 22 years old and everyone is like married with children. Like you still feel like you're starting over. I really truly felt that after I graduated. I was a freshman again, but I did have this little sprinkle of like, I belong here that I had experienced before. And having that, I think, allowed me to keep saying yes to crazy opportunities and allowed me to be a little bold in my artistry, but I still am never going to feel done. I'm never going to feel great because my goal is to always push more. You know what I mean? So, yes, I do think 3 years ago I really started to like be proud of myself more. I was not beating myself up all the time, but I still keep wanting to push. And I think that is the hardest part of working for yourself and being your own boss.
I'm laughing because not actually, but when you were saying that, it brought me back to the tortured artist. I'm never gonna be done, but,
I
like,
know
in a
I'm letting
positive way.
yes, I told you I'm letting go of
No,
it. I'm letting go.
you're letting go. But there's a difference, I think, between I'm never gonna be good enough and I wanna keep being my best at
Yes,
whatever I'm doing. You know, like, there's a difference.
truly.
You totally didn't sound like the first one, but I see it full circle. But honestly, I think people get a lot of pushback on don't be so hard on yourself or whatever. But also at the same time, everything comes in seasons and you can't be great at something from doing the minimum and not having high standards for yourself. So I
Totally.
think there's a way to do it without beating yourself up and tearing yourself down, which
Yes.
you seem to
So
have down
I
much
love that
better.
word, high standards. I think that is a better word than being an underdog. Now, I better describe like that feeling as being confident, but with high standards. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
As
love
we
that.
should in
I love
life. I love that. You choreograph like every style of dance. Do you have one, a favorite?
mm.
And two, do you have like a formula, a process that you follow? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Lately I've been loving jazz and finding my version of jazz. I think I more would define my stuff lately as like jazz fusion or contemporary jazz because my work is informed by all the styles I've ever learned and practiced. But I love really high energy athletic work lately. And that's been kind of landing in the jazzy category.
I love that.
But I'm
I
always
love that.
open and I love to change styles up on myself, and I think it keeps things interesting for me. No matter what the style is, I start the same, and I always start with picking my song, and I'm obsessed with my Spotify playlist.
I need to, can you share it? Because I am the opposite of obsessed with mine, to be honest.
Yes. So I usually try to keep my current choreography playlist secret, but I have
That's
not
fine.
started mine this year.
You can,
But
yeah,
I will
just a
send
sneak
you
peek of
last
me.
year's. I'll send you last year's playlist, and it's all over the
Cool.
place, all over different vibes. But if I ever am listening to music and I just get that spark of like, "Ooh, this would be something," I just save it no matter if I have a dance to do or not. Like, I just have this long playlist that's hundreds of songs that I love. So I always start with music and then I really am very thoughtful about picking the right song for the right gig and the level of the dancer, how many dancers there are, the age of the dancer, is it appropriate? Is it mature enough? So that's all music. I have a big wide music interest, all genres. And then I sit down with my notebook and I block out the music with little tick marks and every 8 count gets a slash and then I create the structure of the song after I cut it and then I see it on paper and that creates the structure of the dance. So I'm like, okay, this 4/8 counts is going to be the full group section. This 2/8 counts needs to be a big lift. Okay, this 3/8 counts needs to be chaos. So I got to create chaos. And I'm just building my to-do list. That really helps me start somewhere. And then I usually put my headphones on and I like to dance in my kitchen and I create the first big group phrase or pick somewhere to start and I just start. And I usually like to come into the studio with something made, something to teach the dancers. So I'm not coming in fully winging it. And I have some kind of structure plan and I have some phrase. And then I just go from there. And it depends on who I'm working with, how much I prepare before. It depends on the age of them. Starting music, blocking, and one phrase has like been my go-to for every gig I do.
That's so cool because the way that I would have to have every second planned out. I think though mine comes from a lack of trust and confidence in myself as a choreographer to be able to come up with something cool on the spot. So it's really cool that you have that system. Has that kind of always been your approach or did that evolve? How did you find that system for
Yeah,
yourself?
When my first dances, especially when they were hip hop throwback, it's so funny because I don't belong. I have no business choreographing hip hop,
I mean,
but
I do feel like you were in
it's
Hip
just
Hop
like what
Connection.
I
I'm just
knew. I
saying.
didn't know anything. I lived in Toledo, Ohio, and like I liked to do it, and I was kind of good at hip hop, so I was just the chosen one.
It's like when you're in high school and you're like, "Oh, like I'm good enough," and you're like
Yeah, it
the
was
best
like
one, like, in your
TikTok dance.
area.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like how people learn TikTok dances in high school. I was just like doing that, I guess. Anyway, so when I was first choreographing, I'd say the first 3 to 4 years, I was making up every single move, every formation, every transition. I would spend hours and hours planning ahead everything. And then I learned to let go and trust myself. And I think that's a practice I learned in college, learning that there is a benefit and a joy to the process with other people. And so I really tried to figure that out in college of like learning how to trust myself. And that was not an easy road either.
Especially when you are in college and things are mostly graded, you know?
Graded.
That's really cool you were able to do that and be like, "Oh, let me try this. I'm scared, and this is
Yes.
gonna maybe affect my grade," but that's what college should be for, is learning.
Right. Well, and it was graded. And then another part was that you were creating on your friends, like people you were hanging out with after school. And my friends, then I was put in this weird position where I was like the leader to my friends, and they're watching me like figure it out. And I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out how to make a creative dance. It was this very painful, like awkward relationship putting me choreographer, dancer, but friends that are equal but not. And
It's
then like
vulnerable.
and then also not knowing what you're doing up there. It was a really hard couple years there.
It's just like throw yourself in, like, who cares about imposter syndrome? You're like, "I gotta just do it." They say that it's the hardest to perform for people that you know or do that
Totally.
kinda thing. Yeah.
Totally. And I did have some friends that were not on that ride with me. Maybe not even great friends, but honestly looking back, people that were like, "I'll never work with her again. She's so frustrating. She doesn't know what she's doing. I'll never go in Alyssa dance again." And I'm hearing this in the locker room where they don't think I can hear them. There's many instances like that that I had
Yee,
heard in
what?
college. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I that
If
was
you're not watching
also
the video, my jaw is on the floor. Like, I'm sorry.
I mean, that it's just another layer to putting myself out there. I was putting people on this ride with me, and some people were not there for it and not here to watch me or help me grow. That's not everyone. I will say I had some really great friends that were like, yeah, let's figure it out. Like, whatever you want, Alyssa, we'll do it with you. Those friends really helped me figure it out. Now have like a system, but there was some people that really got in my head back then.
Oh, well, first of all, I'm so sorry. I had the privilege. I don't think I ever was in any of your dances at you. I also was on a very different track in college, so it's fine.
Sure. Well,
But that
I'll make
is
a solo for you tonight.
oh, a solo. Perfect. I'll put it on TikTok. Okay, great. Thank you. Can't wait. Can't wait to learn it. That's so sad. And college age is hard, not giving anyone any excuse. But wow, I'm sorry that I did not even know that.
Part of
It's
the
a good
journey.
lesson, though, if you're listening, just to remember those things. Like you, 10 years later, still remember those people. You still remember the things that were said about you.
Mhm.
And I don't know, any type of non supportive negativity, just, that drives me nuts in general. But
Yeah.
wow, sorry, that threw me for a loop. Anyways,
Sorry to bring it
we don't need
down.
to no, it's fine. I mean, but also it's hard to figure it out. And that's life, is that not everyone's going to be on the train with you. And it's okay if you got to leave some people. Oh, my favorite quote. It's, if you're on an elevator, I'm butchering it, but if you're on an elevator and you want to keep going up, you have to let people off that aren't
Mm,
coming up with you,
yeah,
and you learn fast, when people show their true colors in a setting
I
like
love
that.
that. I also saw a quote today. I won't even say a quote. It was a TikTok comment, but
Poetic.
someone had said, "Pick your friends like your fruit," and I resonated with that so much because yes, friends, yes, friendships, but also your network. Pick your network, your people that are gonna ride with you like they're the best fruit at the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like the fruit that you want
Yeah.
in your home.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately, that concept, because I don't know how it was explained when you were growing up, but there was sometimes this connotation of like certain people like using people.
Mm,
And I think there is that in life. Like, I do think that is something that happens, but I also think maybe some people misconstrue it in other ways of you should be surrounding yourself with people that are bringing you up.
yes.
And that's a part of networking, and that's a part of choosing your tribe, choosing your fruit of who is bringing me up. It's not because I'm using this person, but if this person is making me better, that's who I want to surround myself with because I'm going to make other
Totally.
people better. Yeah.
Totally. That was a huge part of my college career, not to go back to college, but who did I pick as a mentor? Not even who did I pick, who was offering a mentorship to someone who was so wild and chaotic and like had no idea who was an underdog. Like, to be honest, who is going to mentor the underdog and who are the friends that are going to be supportive in that underdog journey? I take that now as an instructor, looking at all the kids in my room in front of me and seeing value in every single one of them. I learned that lesson and I knew what that felt like. And I knew how special and life changing it was to have a mentor and friends and people in a network that was going to ride with me and that I wanted to ride with for them as well. And so I know now that that is so valuable and important to my students. And I try to see every single person in that room and I really try not to write anyone off because you never know who is going to blossom when. And I think
Yeah.
that's my
And
biggest advice.
yeah, I think that it's so we kind of talked about it at the beginning too of a lot of times it is the underdogs who keep going and it is hard to for me as well to look back on certain things of my past of like wow that professor or that person or that choreographer really didn't see anything in me. You have to look at the person, not the dancer. That sounds kind of funky, but the person with the heart and the energy, those are the people that are going to stick with it and keep going. And it also, at the end of the day, it's not about who's the best dancer in the room. It's not that deep.
Totally.
Anyway,
Totally. All of that. I second all of that.
yeah. Yeah. When you are teaching or I'm going to not be able to say that word, choreographing makes someone stand out to you is a quality that like you gravitate towards, whether it could be
Mm.
both on the performance side, but also the heart side of it.
Yeah. I love that question. I don't care what age it is. I think it's the same. I think I love the people who are invested in the creating of the work. I don't care if you have a suggestion. I don't need that. I want your eyes like locked in on me and excited about the idea. And if I say, "Oh, will you try it this way?" Immediate, no question, no judgment involved. I want dancers who are excited to try, willing to fail, and willing to look stupid for the sake of like the creative process. That's what I love the most in my classrooms and in my processes. Like the dancer that is so frustrating to me is the one that I ask them to try something maybe they've never done or doesn't quite make sense yet. And they're going to like be hesitant and they're gonna make me pull it out of them. And they're gonna be like, "I'm not sure. What do you mean?" And not provide ideas or not try and fail and not be helpful. You does that make
Do
sense?
you it doesn't, but it does. It makes sense what you're saying, but it doesn't make sense to me. Like, do you experience that often?
I think I'm saying it's not in a way that they're misbehaving, it's in a way that they're
Yeah.
scared to look stupid. I'm gonna be like, "Is there any way you can do this jump but spin?" And the dancer I love to work with is if they just throw and try it. And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, but maybe more like this." And just I can tell if a dancer is insecure if I ask them to jump and spin and they're nervous and they close off and they don't wanna try because they don't feel like free enough or they don't feel safe enough. I don't know what it is. I think it's the confidence thing. And when I have to be like, no, it's okay. You're fine. Just do something. Like I can try it this
Yeah.
way, but what can you do? That's time I could be creating if I have to just pull it out of you. I want people that are just going to be abandoning everything that they know, willing to be crazy, willing to laugh, and willing to just try, like, play around. So, my biggest advice for those people, and I try to stay patient and I try to make it a learning lesson, is allow yourself to feel silly and allow yourself to show your personality and allow yourself to fail in the room. And that is a great thing. It is not always interesting or useful to be perfect. And I see that a lot when I travel around.
Do you think that maybe like TikTok, social media has a role into that just with like people are seeing dancers on TikTok and everyone's posting their highlight reel of all these amazing cool things they're doing and you probably didn't see the million takes that they didn't do it like that, you know? Do you think
Yes.
like it's hard for kids to conceptualize that?
Totally, totally. And I think it's so important to allow kids as teachers to or encourage them to fail safely because they're never seeing that outside of the classroom. They don't see people fail, they see people's best runs and then they think that is how they always dance and it truly is not.
Truly, truly is not, which moving into TikTok, we got to talk about UDA because it's all over my TikTok. And I hope that some of the things I have been feeling, I'm not going to get too heated about some of these things. But just in general, you choreograph for Iowa Jazz. It's literally insanely stunning. If you have a clip from it, I'm going to link it in the show notes so people can go watch because it's amazing. Was it something that was ever on your radar to do college dance in this way?
First of all, thank you. I'm very proud of that one. No, if you would have asked me in college or 10 years ago if I was going to do collegiate dance teams, I would have said, no way. I was not really on a dance team at that competitive level. It was not really what we were working on in school. I had other bigger, better ideas, and that was not cool back then. I have since really, really developed a love for athletic dancing and teamwork. And the peak of that is UDA Nationals for college dance. I started doing dance teams about serious, like high level competing dance teams 4 years ago. And it was the super challenging to choreograph. And I kind of loved that. It was very different and it was really hard for me, but I think I was good at it, but it wasn't easy and I liked that. So I really dove into the dance team world and put a lot of focus in figuring out like how to stand out in this way, in this world. That's what led to Iowa. And this was a big opportunity and I was very excited to have the chance.
But I feel like if you actually dissect these dances, I'm saying this as if it's surprising, all the artistry and creativity like are in all of these high level dances. What part of it was hard specifically to that? Or do you think it was just hard because it was just very different than what you had been used to?
I think it was hard because to me, it felt like no room for error. Everyone is on stage the whole time. There's no exits. Every formation has to make sense. When I'm creating for a stage, I can hide things and say, "Oh, just make that work." It's not really visible. Everything is showcased for a dance team.
So
So
true.
it has to be so seamless. The planning is a lot different for me. I do a lot more formation work. It's also, you want to showcase these really impressive skills and turns, but it has to be the correct person in the correct spot. So you have to plan like 3 steps ahead always and just standing out because these dancers only get one dance to show and represent their school. So it's kind of another pressure added on.
So speaking of like TikTok and things, I've obviously was not at UDA Nationals. You were there as a
Mhm.
choreographer, no big deal. What was it like being there? Energy. I mean, the energy looked amazing.
Energy was amazing. It was both entirely stressful and super inspiring. I have never seen so many like talented dancers and teams in one place. I've truly never like these dancers are athletes. They are unbelievable, and to be, like, a small part of this world and in the mix is surreal to me, and it's, like, was a true pinch me moment this weekend. On the flip side, I also had to really act like I knew what was going on and lead my team as a choreographer. I think I did great. I was really proud of what we presented. The team, I could not be prouder of the dancers at University of Iowa. I think they're rock stars and they push through so much. And there's so many people and there's so many opinions. But in the end, what we presented, I don't think I would change. I was super proud of.
I didn't actually realize how, like, intertwined the choreographer gets to be, which is so cool, like, to
Mhm.
be so in it in that way. It's giving, like, Dance Mom in the best w like, not in the crazy show way, but, like, like, those are your, like, babies, like, they're doing
Yeah.
it, which is so cool. I feel very strongly about always building people up and learning and growing, and if I'm gonna be really candid, I have been seeing all of the TikToks of this is wrong, this person's bad, this dance sucks. It's to the point where I almost can't even go on the app because it frustrates me so much from an inside perspective. Did girls like see any of this? Did you get to see any of that? If they were seeing anything that was said
Mhm.
negatively about them?
Yeah, I think it's really this has blown up online. UDA has blown up in the past 3 to 5 years, and everyone thinks that they're allowed to have an opinion. And that's kind of the pro of it is that everyone is seeing these amazing dancers, but the con of it is everyone gets to comment. And I think the dancers did an amazing job. I think they're way stronger than I would be if I was in their position of tuning it out and focusing on the job and knowing what you're presenting is you something to be proud of and that it's really freaking hard to do what they're doing. And they are the ones that get it and they have to trust their coach, trust the choreo, and trust their training and just do what they can. Any sport is that. I think a lot of coaches, from my perspective, encourage their dancers not to go on social media because of how bad it has gotten. I also think it's impossible to miss because of how in your face UDA is in all of our algorithms. Like they know we're dancers, they know they're going to show us. Yes, you can stay offline, but also you're going to see it. And it's really, really hard to ignore. And it's really a lot of people commenting have no idea, nor could they ever do what these athletes are doing at UD.
No. And obviously, if you're hearing this part of the conversation, you've listened to ideally the first half of this episode of us talking about how detrimental it can be to hear certain things, especially when you are in college. Those are your years of
Eh,
growing and learning who you are as a person, as an artist, as like everything. So it drives me insane because speaking candidly again, I don't care if you think you can do it better. Most, I would say 99% of people with comments that are negative cannot do anywhere close to it. I mean, I can't. I mean, I was a rockette and I can't
no,
do
I could never.
any of no, never. And
Mhm.
that doesn't make me feel threatened. And to me, if you are going to go on the internet and start to bash people for their technique, if you can do it or if you not, if you can't, you're threatened by them in some way. And
Yeah,
I don't understand, like why we're not building people up. I'm sorry. I'm like taking over your episode now, especially knowing that you're there and me being defensive of my friends too. Not that it's like anyone said anything about you. Maybe they did. I don't know. I didn't see anything. I also just get extra defensive
yeah.
in that way. What is your thought on the turning releve situation? Because that is what I have seen the most in my feed. And I have an opinion, but I wanted to hear yours first.
It makes me so angry. I am a dance teacher. I teach proper technique. I also choreograph on these teams. I have both ends. And I don't know if this is true, but like from what I'm seeing, what we're asking these athletes to do, which are the hardest turn combos in the world, actually. I don't know anyone else attempting this, not even prima ballerinas, maybe. But
I don't think
like
so.
I don't think so. I don't think they're turning this fast, this precise. and have to do it with a whole team. That
It's
is
the
the other part.
unison.
It's the unison that you have to add on. Sure, there's a lot of soloists that can turn with proper technique. We need the team to do it though. That's what this sport is. And so I think at some point, something has to give to achieve the insane thing we're asking. And I think it's really cool to ask them to do these amazing things. Releve might have to drop, though. Does that mean we have to make the turn combos easier? I don't know. Why can't the technique change? I don't really care about the releve if they're doing these turns and getting around. That's me as a dance teacher. I could care
The releve
less. I
is
think
not the aesthetic, like,
it's ignoring the
it's
point
not
of
like
what's going on.
yeah, and I had this thought too about it, and again, I'm not a physical therapist, I'm not an expert in this way because I've also seen people, like, try to claim that they're upset because a low releve is going to cause injury, and again, to preface, I don't have proof one way or the other. What I can say is that you can get injured in dance at any point, especially at this level. You could have the best technique in the world when you are dancing that rigorously, whether it's at Radio City, if it's at UDA, if it's on some stage, I don't care where it is, you're putting yourself at risk to get injured. Football players get injured, baseball players get injured, like people
Yes.
get injured because they're
Yes.
performing at such a high level. Would it be great to reduce that? Yes, but that's just I don't have the answer to that. But my point being, bringing it back, I don't think people really care about the safety. It's just the projection because at the end of the day, you cannot ignore the athleticism because I love that you keep calling them athletes because they absolutely are
Mhm.
athletes. It really did get me thinking though, because my argument, if you're in a Horton class, you're doing a turn, not a pirouette, you're doing a turn and your heels barely lifted, you're skimming the floor.
Yes.
But in that technique, that's fine. That's acceptable. No one's gonna get hurt. I'm not saying it's the same, but it's its own technique. All these people, "Oh, that's proper technique." You didn't make it up. Did you come up with the ballet technique? Are you
Yeah,
Vaganova? Like, you're not. I
totally
don't
agree.
know. That's my take.
I
Yeah.
think that's exactly what I was trying to say is that I think this style, this dance team style, requires maybe a new technique. Like, can we be open to that? I don't know. I think there's a lot of these turns that, yes, we are pulling from ballet and other styles, but like we're making them a little more athletic or speedy or whatever. And maybe it can't be exactly the same from the original form it was pulled from. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if that's right or wrong.
I think there just needs to be a conversation to it. And again, I knew I was going to get heated. Yes, I do think people are projecting, but to not feed into that energy, let's just be open to conversation. I agree. This is a conversation that needs to be had, but it's the same as when there's also like flips and aerials and things
Yes,
like that's not really in classical jazz pieces. Not that it can't be, but it's just different. It's just
correct.
different.
Correct. It is
And
a whole different style.
I even thought about it to take it as far as to in a precision example of kicking eye high. You go to a palms team, you're supposed to whack your face. Like no one's arguing though. Like maybe I
Yes,
don't know the history to know like what really came first, but no one's arguing like, oh, you should be kicking higher because it's its own technique. It's its own thing. So
I totally agree. I'm on the same page as you. I think it's not considering everything that the sport requires.
yeah.
I also will teach my kids to do a high releve, but when I'm working with the dance team, I am worried about other things that are more important, and I don't think a low releve is injuring anyone. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, if you're turning with your leg in second and your leg's bent and your foot's not pointed, like maybe we have value oh my god, valid argument if
Yes.
that is the case. But other than that, like their
Yeah.
leg is straight, I don't know. We don't need to dissect the whole thing, but that's also my 2 cents of one, stop projecting onto people. Stop trying to pick apart these young girls who are, yes, athletes, but they're also artists. People are not considering the courage it takes to be in that situation. That is probably, I would argue, the most televised dance event
Yes.
ever,
Yeah.
ever. Not only for the people there and it's a competition, but literally the whole world is
Yeah.
seeing it.
Yeah.
So I encourage people. I unfortunately think maybe the people that we're talking about will be listening to this. If maybe you're one of the dancers listening to this, like it's fine. Just shut out the noise and like just trust. And I I'm glad that you are on I figured you'd be on the same page, but,
They
yeah,
have
that
these are very trained dancers. They know they should be on releve. That's not the problem. I'll just end it there.
yeah, like, I
We gotta
think
consider more.
that's the part too. I think I commented on one of them. I try to not, but I, like, nicely was just like, totally, like, hear you that in, like, ballet and jazz technique, it's a high releve, but I think to then say that these dancers have bad technique or lack technique is extremely unfair to say
Yes,
because we're human, we're not robots, and that's what makes it special.
exactly.
Speaking to people who also would wanna dabble in choreography or just, like, freelance art, dance
Yeah.
in general, when did you realize essentially, like, you're running a business, even though it's yourself?
Yeah. I think probably after college is when I started getting gigs that filled my whole summer. And then I was managing travel, I was managing timelines, I was managing my rates, I was managing who's paying for food and whatnot. And then I realized at that point, when it was taking up a whole season of my life at that point, now it's since expanded. I was like, I'm a business owner now. I am a choreographer and that is my business. So that takes a lot of time. I've developed a lot of skill. I've learned things the hard way. And I also learn a lot through friends who also do this and just like leaning on them and asking them, hey, how do you make this work? Because we did get a little business training, I guess, in college, and that was very helpful. But my focus and my passion is not the business side. So I've had to really learn how to balance that and when to lean on people.
Yeah, and I
So,
don't know about you, when I was in college, I was very narrow tracked minded,
mm,
so even any information we did get about that, it probably just stayed in my brain for the test and then
right.
left right after that because I'm like, "I'm a dancer," and we don't think. So if you do have a business class or you have opportunities to learn from someone, definitely
Soak
take
it
in
in.
the knowledge. What are the pros and cons to being your own boss?
I love being my own boss because I get to choose what work I do. I get to choose my schedule. I guess the con of that is also that I get to choose my schedule and I have to decide when to say no and how busy I want to be. Because when do you stop? There's no one telling me when to stop or when it's too much. I have to learn that and figure it out myself. And when I say no to gigs, it's saying no to money and saying no to a paycheck. So you think, like, why would you say no to that? It's a paycheck. You can do it, you're available, but also you have to deal with burnout. Like, you need a weekend off. You forget you have to schedule
Quite
your
literally,
life. You have to schedule your life as well
like,
as
maybe you
your
need to go to
work.
a doctor.
You have to go to the
No.
dentist. Like, oh, yeah, I need time for that.
Dang, like,
So,
gosh.
that took a lot. I don't think I've mastered it. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, I want to bring in balance in my life. I think I'm still trying to figure out my perfect formula, but I also love that I have the control and the ability to do that. It's the best thing in the world.
I feel that the whole "when do you stop" thing. I'm entering my entrepreneurial that should be step 1 is learning how to say that word, space, though,
Yes,
of, like, yeah, when you're passionate about it and you love it, you wanna just keep going. You don't know when to stop, but also quality control as well because then you're burnt out, then maybe you're going to a new opportunity and you're not showing up and presenting your best work, and then that's going to affect your reputation at the end of the
exactly.
day.
Exactly.
Which when you're now a business, you're an entity, what are things that you would say to someone who is starting out to that you didn't know?
Yeah, I think, well, the first thing I want to say is that most of my business comes from or started from my network. It's the people literally I was friends with. And not to count anyone off when you're making friendships, just be a real, like,
Or don't say
genuine.
anything in the locker room?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a small world. It's so everyone says that, but it is so true, and I've learned that as I'm traveling around a lot. I'm only separated by the people that hire me by maybe 2 degrees. Word goes around fast, and so, number 1, just be genuine, be a good person, be ethical, and bring positivity whenever you go. That's the first thing I learned, not in a bad way, I didn't learn it the hard way, but I learned how small the world is. And then the second thing I learned is and I'm still figuring out is like how to be your own quality control and not like talk down on yourself, if that makes sense. Like how you said earlier, like if you're burnt out and you have a gig and your piece maybe isn't that great that weekend, that could just be a one off, but that could also be like my quality slipping. And so I am the one that has to bring it up. There is no one else that I'm able to, at this point in my life, rely on or bring in to fix things. I am the one that is bringing the good work and letting that or fighting not letting that slip, staying interested, staying interesting is hard work. You can't really coast in this job, I think, or else there's always someone
I
that
mean,
is more excited that's waiting in the wings. So, yeah.
just the thought of having a 100 plus song playlist on Spotify on hand is exhausting for me to think about
Sure.
because my Spotify playlist is like 5 songs long. So it's real. It's even more than people think go into it. It's not just like, "Oh, yeah, you're gonna show up and put some moves together." It's so
Yeah.
much deeper
Yeah.
than that, which is a beautiful thing because you make it look effortless.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've talked about it throughout the episode a little bit, but just how you are trying to end the cycle of that like fear and shame based teaching approach that you had seen some of a
Sure.
little bit growing up. Not your mom, of course, shout out, and why you think it's important. And I know that's a big part of your mission in life.
Yeah. Traveling around as a kid, going to conventions, having different guest artists, and you meet a lot of different adult personalities as a child. And it's automatically a very interesting power balance. This person is older, they're creating the rules, they're setting the vibe of the room. And I was always very in tune as a kid to the adults that made me feel uplifted and feel good in the room and the adults that I was feeling afraid of. And it was just a dance class.
That
This is
deep.
not that deep, but I felt
Oh,
fear when I was a kid. And that I think is so unacceptable. I think abuse is unacceptable in dance. There's so many good people to hire here in this little bubble that we are living in the dance world. And we should be really, really picky about who we are presenting to our youth. And I make a really big effort in my teaching and my practice and in all my travels to be a mentor and an inspiration and someone positive that walks in the room that makes children feel inspired and not they're gonna get in trouble, which can lead to a lot
yeah.
of really dark things. So, I'm super passionate about that, and I also make sure that my network reflects that as well. I only let in the people that I feel are on the same journey as me there.
And that's another good lesson going back to the business aspect of it. My mom always said to me, shout out mom, you have to watch who you're friends with because who you're friends with says so much about you because you
Yes.
are who you surround yourself with. I obviously could not agree more on all of that. If there is a dancer listening, maybe that doesn't feel great in their environment, it's a two-part question. One, how what are some tools that they could use to try to keep that negative out and like keep believing in themselves? And two, when does someone know that it's time to maybe go to a different studio or do something else? When do you know enough is enough? When to walk away?
Yeah. I think that if you are there's a difference between being pushed in a loving way and tough love is acceptable. It's important to learn hard lessons. You should feel like you're being pushed and challenged and held accountable in your studio. And that is a good thing. If you are going to dance fearful, full of anxiety, if you are leaving crying every day, that is a sign that is not a healthy relationship or mentorship. You are not being pushed as a person in that situation. You are being used or abused. That is
Yeah.
not how it should be. And I think there are many, many, many great teachers out there that will treat you how you should be treated.
And I love what you said about the accountable thing because to not also take it too far in the other direction of being reprimanded for doing something wrong, maybe like that, that's acceptable. If you
Yes.
showed up late, you didn't know your choreography, like, those are things, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think just trusting that there's a difference between tough love, like you said, and you can kind of feel that too, and I think people just have to trust their gut a little bit more of, like,
Yeah.
I think most of us have a good sense of, like, "Hey, this is maybe no longer starting to feel good."
And on
All
the
for some
flip
tough
side,
love.
I do wanna say this too, on the flip side, you should not be best friends with your teacher as well. If they are an adult, they are your mentor and your guide, they are not your bestie. They can be there for you, and they can be available if you have any problems or concerns, but this is not someone you that friend boundary with. There's a difference there too as well, and that's also something to look out for, and I've seen go very bad in many situations from people close to me.
I could not agree more in the sense of they should be there for you, but it's not a two-way street.
Yep.
Maybe one day when you're old, my dance teachers love them. I felt very close and comfortable to them. Post college, now I'm like, oh, now we're friends.
Now
And
you're
there's a
friends.
clear difference,
Yes, exactly.
very clear difference. You can be close with someone without it crossing boundaries
Yes.
in that way. Love that. Thank you for adding that for
Mhm.
sure. If you had to give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
The first thing that comes to mind is I wish that I would have trusted myself more and believed it earlier. And not do the whole fight. Like, I feel like I was very good at showing my boldness and saying yes to things, but then I would go home and feel shame about it. And I wish that I would have just known that that is a good quality to have. And it doesn't make me look crazy. And it's not weird to be putting yourself out there like that. And that is something that people admire. And I think I would have
Yeah.
let go of that underdog belief a little earlier.
'Cause you
Just
were
like
never an
it's the
underdog, you had high standards.
yeah, and we're flipping that narrative now.
Yes.
Maybe I should have told myself that 10 years ago. I'm not an underdog, I just have high standards and I have to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Genuinely, that I get it. I'm just making fun of you because I can.
I know, that's so
If there
funny.
was last question, I'm gonna stop putting you on the spot. If there was one thing you wanted someone listening to this to take away, what do you want them to remember from this episode?
I think that wherever you are at in your journey right now, you could go so far if you let yourself. That is like what I experienced in my come up. If I would have believed my potential was capped 10 years ago, I never, ever, ever would have had this career. And just know it is a rough road, it's a journey. You're going to learn a lot of lessons the hard way, but there is room for growth and we're waiting for you to flourish. And where
Ugh,
you are now is not
I'm
where
gonna
you
cry.
will be.
I love how you said, "If you let yourself." I've never heard it said that way. Like, let yourself do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. So everyone needs to go follow along, book you for privates, book you for choreography. I'm working on the socials, my own to showcase that. But where should people go to find you and keep up with you? And
Yeah.
I'll write it in the show notes as well.
My website is alyssabrutlag.com. My Instagram is Alyssa Brutlag. On Facebook as well. You can friend me there. I have a YouTube channel. I'm working on that. Yeah, you can find me anywhere. It's all my name. That's easy.
Easy, easy peasy. I love it. Thank you for hanging with me and hanging with us. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment on this video what you liked, what you agreed agree with words. We've been talking a while. If you also don't agree with the relevant thing, maybe not, but don't come for us. Just kidding.
And
Love you guys. Thanks for kicking it real with us.